Imagine you're holding something in your hands right now. It could be a stock certificate, an old business you built from scratch, a relationship that stopped working 2 years ago, a house that's bleeding money every single month. Now imagine someone walks up to you and offers to take it off your hands. They offer you a fair price, a reasonable price, maybe even a generous price, and you say no. Not because the math doesn't make sense, it does. Not because you have a better plan, you don't. But because something inside you refuses. That feeling right there, that quiet, invisible resistance, that's not wisdom. That's not strategy. That's one of the most powerful psychological forces in the human brain. And it's been silently costing people fortunes, careers, relationships, and years of their lives since the beginning of recorded history. And almost nobody talks about it directly. So, let's talk about it. Here's what's actually happening inside your mind when you refuse to let something go, even when every rational signal is telling you to walk away. And here's why the most intelligent people on the planet are not immune to it. In fact, they're often the worst. In 1990, two psychologists, Daniel Kahneman and Richard Thaler, ran a simple experiment. They gave half of a group of college students a coffee mug. Nothing special, a basic mug, worth maybe $5. Then they asked the students who received the mug, how much would you sell it for? And they asked the students who didn't receive one, how much would you pay to buy it? Logic says both groups should land near the same number. The mug is the same mug. The value is the same value. But that's not what happened. The sellers, the students who simply held the mug for a few minutes, valued it at roughly twice what the buyers were willing to pay. They owned it for a few minutes. They didn't earn it. They didn't choose it. They didn't even want it before the experiment began. But the moment it was theirs, it became more valuable. In their minds. Instantly. Kahneman and Thaler called this the Endowment Effect. And once you understand it, you will never see your own decisions the same way again. Because the Endowment Effect is not a quirk. It's not a minor cognitive hiccup. It is a fundamental feature of how human beings assign meaning to the things they possess. And it runs far deeper than coffee mugs. Think about the last time you tried to sell something, a car, an old piece of furniture, a piece of clothing you never wear. You probably had a number in your head, and when someone offered you less, something inside you felt almost offended. Not because they were wrong, but because to you, the object carried invisible weight, history, memory, the version of yourself that bought it, the future version of yourself that was supposed to use it. None of that exists in the market. None of that exists in the buyer's mind. It only exists in yours. And here's where it starts to get dangerous. Because when the endowment effect moves from coffee mugs and old furniture into the territory of money, careers, and life decisions, the stakes become almost unimaginably high. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus spent 3 years building a small tech startup. He poured everything into it. Savings, evenings, weekends, friendships, sleep. He missed family dinners. He missed weddings. He watched his social life slowly compress into a single obsession. By year 2, the market had clearly signaled that his core product wasn't gaining traction. The data was there. His early adopters weren't converting. His churn rate was brutal. His co-founder wanted to pivot. A mentor told him to cut his losses. Even his investors, gently, suggested exploring alternatives. But Marcus couldn't hear it. Because to him, this wasn't just a business anymore. It was a monument to everything he had sacrificed. Every hour he didn't sleep. Every relationship he had let cool. Every version of himself he had given up to build this thing. To walk away felt like saying all of that was worthless. So he didn't walk away. He raised another round. He hired more people. He doubled down on a strategy that the market had already rejected. 2 years later, the company folded anyway. And Marcus lost not just the business, but the relationships, the savings, and most painfully, the years he could have spent building something that actually worked. Here's the brutal truth about Marcus. He wasn't protecting the business. He was protecting the story he had told himself about the business. He was protecting his identity. He was protecting the version of himself who was right. And that distinction between protecting an investment and protecting an ego is one of the most important and most overlooked lines in all of human behavior. Because we don't just endow objects with extra value, we endow our past decisions with extra meaning. Every hour you spend on something adds invisible weight to it in your mind. Every dollar, every emotional sacrifice, every time you told someone this was the right move. Psychologists call this sunk cost fallacy. But that clinical label barely captures the emotional experience of it. It's not a logical error. It's a deeply human one. It's the part of you that says, I can't leave now. Look at how much I've already put in. It's the part of you that turns around at the exit of a bad movie and thinks, but I paid $15 for this ticket. It's the part of you that stays in a city that makes you miserable because you already signed a 2-year lease. It's the part of you that holds a losing stock for 4 more years because selling it would mean admitting you were wrong in the first place. But here's the disturbing part. Every single day you hold on to something that isn't working, you aren't just standing still. You are paying a second price. The price of the time you are not spending on something better. The price of the mental energy you are burning defending a bad decision. The price of the opportunities you are too committed to see. You paid once to get in, and then you keep paying, invisibly, every day you refuse to get out. That is the real cost of the endowment effect. Not just what you hold on to, but what you are unable to reach for while your hands are full. So why does this happen? Why are human beings, intelligent, educated, self-aware people, so systematically biased toward overvaluing what they already have? The answer goes back much further than modern psychology. Go back 30,000 years. Imagine a world without contracts, without courts, without the infrastructure of ownership. In that world, the thing you had was the thing you had. If you let it go too easily, you might never get it back. If you gave something up too quickly, in an environment of genuine scarcity, the consequences could be fatal. The instinct to hold on, to assign extra value to what is already yours, was survival logic. It kept our ancestors alive, and evolution is slow. The modern world moved far faster than our psychology could follow. So here we are, walking around with ancient survival hardware in a world of stock markets, career pivots, and relationship decisions. Feeling a primal resistance to loss that was never designed for a world where opportunities are abundant and the cost of changing course is rarely fatal. Loss aversion, one of the most studied phenomena in all of behavioral economics, tells us that the pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the equivalent thing. Let that sit for a moment. Losing $100 feels about twice as bad as gaining $100 feels good, which means we are not making decisions from a neutral center. We are making decisions from a position already tilted, already biased, toward holding on. And when you combine loss aversion with the endowment effect, what you get is a psychological double lock, a cage most people never realize they're sitting in. You overvalue what you have because it's yours, and you resist letting it go because losing it feels twice as bad as the gain would feel good. This is why people hold losing stocks long after every rational signal says sell. This is why people stay in jobs they have outgrown, waiting for a sign that never comes. This is why people keep funding failing businesses with money they cannot afford to lose. This is why people stay in relationships they know are wrong, justifying one more month, one more year, one more chance. It is never purely about the thing itself. It is about the pain of the loss, and the story the loss would tell about them. Now here's the part that makes this even harder to escape. The more you know, the more dangerous this can become. Intelligent people are often better at constructing convincing arguments for why they should hold on. They can generate more reasons, more justifications, more elaborate scenarios in which their original decision turns out to be right after all. But here's the disturbing part. The ability to reason is not the ability to reason correctly. It is the ability to make your existing conclusion sound reasonable. Psychologists call this motivated reasoning, and the endowment effect is one of its most powerful triggers. You don't decide to hold on and then find reasons. You feel the pull to hold on, primal, instant, emotional, and then your intelligent mind builds a case for it. The mind is not a calculator, it is a lawyer, and it will argue for your existing position with extraordinary creativity. So what do you actually do with all of this? How do you break out of a loop that was literally wired into your brain before language existed? The first step is the hardest one, and it sounds almost too simple. You have to learn to separate what something is worth from what it cost you. These are two entirely different questions, but we almost always treat them as the same one. What something cost you is history. It is fixed. It cannot be changed. And it should play no role, zero role, in your decision about whether to hold on or let go. The only question that matters is this: given everything I know right now, is this the best use of my time, money, and energy going forward? Not given everything I've already put in, not given who I told I was going to succeed, not given the version of myself I imagined when I started. Just now, just forward, just this. This is what professional investors call zero-based thinking, and it is genuinely one of the most liberating mental tools available to any human being. Strip away the history, strip away the sunk cost, strip away the ego. Stand at the beginning, as if you were making the decision for the first time, and ask, would I start this today? If the answer is no, you already have your answer. There's a second shift that changes everything. Start measuring the cost of staying, not just the cost of leaving. We are very good at counting the cost of change. We count it obsessively. We enumerate every risk, every sacrifice, every uncertain outcome that might follow from letting something go. But we almost never apply the same scrutiny to staying. What is this costing me to hold on to? What opportunities am I missing? What energy am I burning defending this? What would I build if my hands were free? The cost of inaction is real. It is compounding. And it is invisible precisely because nothing dramatic happens when you choose to stay. No alarm goes off. No bill arrives. The opportunity you missed just quietly passes, until one day you look up and realize you have spent years in the same place. Not because it was good, but because leaving felt too costly. And this is where I want you to feel something real. Think about the thing in your life right now that you know, somewhere quiet and honest, isn't working. It might be a financial position. It might be a career. It might be a city. It might be a creative project that stopped being true a long time ago. Now ask yourself, if a trusted friend came to you with this exact situation, not you in it, but them, what would you tell them? You already know the answer. You've known it for a while. The question was never whether you knew. The question was whether you were willing to feel the discomfort of the loss more than you were willing to feel the weight of staying. Here's a truth that most people only learn the hard way. The moment you choose to let something go that isn't working, you don't feel empty. You feel space. And in that space, something else becomes possible. That's not motivation talk. That's just what happens when you stop spending your energy defending a position and start spending it building a direction. I want to bring you back to where we started. That quiet, invisible resistance. The moment someone offers you a fair deal on something you know, rationally, objectively, you should let go. And you say no. That feeling is ancient. It is human. It is not weakness, and it is not stupidity. But it is also not truth. It is a story your brain tells you to protect you from a pain that feels bigger than it actually is. The coffee mug experiment. Marcus and his startup. The stock held 4 years past its useful life. The career tolerated for 6 years past its expiration date. These are not cautionary tales about foolishness. They are stories about people doing exactly what human beings are built to do. Feeling that what is theirs is worth more than it is. Feeling that the pain of loss outweighs the freedom of release. Feeling that letting go is the same as admitting they were wrong. But here is the reframe that changes everything. Letting go is not an admission of failure. It is an act of precision. It is the recognition that the world has changed, that information has updated, that the version of you who made the original decision was doing the best they could with what they knew, and that the version of you standing here now knows more. You are allowed to update. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to look at something you built or bought or chose, something you poured yourself into, and say, "This no longer serves me, and I am going to make a different choice now." That is not weakness. That is one of the rarest and most courageous things a person can do. The most dangerous trap is not making a bad decision. The most dangerous trap is making a bad decision and then spending years building a life around proving it wasn't. The market doesn't care what you paid. The opportunity doesn't care what you sacrificed. The future doesn't care about your history. Only you do. And the most important question you can ask yourself, not once, but regularly, honestly, without ego, is this: am I holding on to this because it is genuinely the best path forward? Or am I holding on to this because letting go would mean admitting that I lost? Because those are two very different reasons, and only one of them is worth a single more day of your life. You started this video holding something. Maybe you still know what it is. The mug has been in your hands long enough. What you do with it now, that's the only decision that actually matters. And the moment you set it down, you'll wonder why you held on so long.